And that doesn't always guarantee that your credit will not be pulled, folks. Guess what creditors like to do? They like to break the rules.
Hey, it's Kevin Amos, Pine Financial Group, where we work together so you succeed. If you haven't hit subscribe to our YouTube channel, why not hit subscribe? We're going to bring you videos every single week, some great guests like my buddy Matt here. And be sure to hit the post notification bell so you get notified each time we have new content, which you already know when it is. It's every single Friday. Matt Pillmore, great friend of mine. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it, man. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about credit.
Yeah, we're going to talk about credit. We're going to talk about personal credit because we want to shoot another video about business credit and if there's even value in that. So I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about that. But let's talk about personal credit.
Okay, so I actually had the privilege back in 2002 of studying under one of the foremost leading experts on the subject of credit, actually one of the original creators of the FICO credit scoring algorithm. And some of you guys may have heard about FICO. FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation, Fair Isaac being the first company to create a credit scoring algorithm.
And nobody calls them fair.
I would agree with that. If you're thinking logic plays a role in how they calculate scores, you would be wrong. It is not logical, which is why you really need to understand the nuances. Because if you're going off of logic, your scores can take deep dives. And what we're trying to do here is have the best credit possible. What I wanted to share today were some actual tactical, practical steps that you guys can take to get an 800 credit score and up within 60 days or less.
Yeah, and I've seen this stuff work, so I'm excited for you to share it with our viewers.
So this is some of the most popular stuff on my channel. You can visit this stuff on YouTube. VIP Financial Ed is the channel. But guys, this is important if you ever want to take advantage of business credit as well, because some of my most popular business credit capital accounts, business credit cards, business lines of credit, they all require a personal guarantee.
Right.
So they're going to check my personal credit scores in order to determine if I'm a good candidate for those products too. So the first step to really any type of credit product is going to be your personal credit scores. And I've got some amazing techniques that work really, really quickly that are free of charge that you guys can start doing right away. The first one I wanted to talk about was the authorized user technique. This ended up generating over 2 million views on my channel because it's impressive, guys. This is something that you can do. If you have a friend or family member that's willing to help you out who has established good credit over time, then you can actually ask to be added to one of their credit card accounts that's reporting to their credit report as an authorized user. And when you're added as an authorized user, in many cases by the next reporting cycle, you can actually have that account show up on your credit report and you'll adopt the entire history.
Whole history.
That's right. So if they've had that account open for 10 years, guess what, my friend? You end up with 10 years worth of history already seasoned on your credit.
Just make sure that they're paying their bill, right?
So definitely some caveats to this. Number one, don't add an account that has poor payment history. I think that should go without saying. Number two, make sure that they're paying their balances off in full every single month. If not in full, at least very, very close to that. You do not want a high utilization ratio as that will also hurt you too. Number three, you do want them to have a long seasoned established history. I would say 5 years or better is usually going to be what you're targeting. And I usually recommend at least a $5,000 limit, if not higher than that. I mean, 10 is better than 5 when you're talking about limits. 10 is better than 5 when you're talking about years. But 5 years being sort of the minimum as to what you should be looking for. Just to reassure those of you listening that are saying, hey, you're out of your mind if you do this. What about the primary account holder and safety to them? Guess what? They're totally safe. I would not allow the authorized user to get access to the credit card.
Yeah, they don't even need the credit card.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So this is not about you spending money with somebody else's account. This is just about you adopting the history and it showing up on your credit report. You can check out the video on our channel in case we're missing any details on this. Do your homework on it. It is something that Fair Isaac had mentioned years ago, even a decade or longer, was going away, and yet we still see it working regularly. So most definitely still a technique that can work for some of you. Another really great way of jumping your credit score really quickly is understanding that there's two real important dates on your credit cards. The first is your due date. That's the date that your payment is due, at least the minimum or more. The second is your statement closing deadline. And now most people are completely unfamiliar with this date. This is actually the last day that transactions are added to your transaction history for the month. They stop that month's billing cycle. They send you the invoice. That date is important because that's usually when the creditor is reporting your payment history to the credit bureaus.
And it's not on the first of the month or the last day of the month.
No.
It could be Any
day of the month. And you'll usually see this. If you wanted a really easy way of tracking your credit, I usually recommend Credit Karma. Credit Karma is completely free. It's a safe way of just monitoring your ongoing credit history. However, it is not providing you a FICO credit score. It's providing you your Vantage credit score. The Vantage credit score is just a different formula than the formula that FICO uses to process and interpret your payment history, your account history, in order to come up with an actual score. So the scores are not going to be the same as FICO, but the account history will be the same. So you can track your overall credit activity through Credit Karma for free anytime you want to. Now you'll see your reporting date on Credit Karma. When is that creditor reporting to the creditors your activity? And what's important is, let's say I have a $5,000 credit card limit. Okay, that's how much is available to me. Okay. And every month I'm using $3,000 of that availability. Okay. And every month before the due date, I'm paying that $3,000 to zero. Okay. What do you think is reporting?
Depends on what day they report. And
exactly. So that's exactly true. Now, if you're the average person, you're thinking, well, they'll report zero because I'm paying it off in full every month. But the truth is, most of the time you're going to see that $3,000 reported because that's the last day that those transactions are being added. So the highest balance is actually what's showing up. And what most people are unaware of is that 30% of your overall credit rating is based on what you're using compared to what's available to you.
So I've got an interesting story for you real quick. We had a borrower just yesterday. We were looking at this credit report. We see a lot of credit reports in our office, and he had 2 credit cards. They were both secured credit cards, and they were really low limits. $200 was one, $300 was the other. He was actually over his limit on both cards, which wrecked his score.
Oh, yeah.
But a $200 limit, Matt, I would gotta believe he's paying that off every month.
You would think. Did you ask him?
I don't know. Did we ask him, Travis?
Yes.
Yes, we asked him.
Well, I will say it will be.
The
point is it's also easy to pay off. Even if he hadn't been paying it off, it's easy to pay off. So what you can start doing immediately, guys, is start paying on or before the statement closing deadline and just pay 3 or 4 days ahead of time. Now, keep in mind that if you do that, any transactions that you add before the statement actually closes are still going to be reflected on that month's billing cycle, and you would have a second payment due, which can throw people off. The most important thing to do when you have credit cards is to set them up on auto draft. You have to have an auto payment made on every credit card.
I got to ask you this, because you said that the ratio between what the balance of your card to the limit, that ratio is a big
30%.
Yeah, it's a big impact on your credit score.
Almost as much as paying your bills on time.
So I'm just thinking of this, and maybe you were going to get to it, man. I'm sorry if I'm jumping in here, but what if I just call my credit card company and increase my limit? Would my score go up?
Another fabulous way of generating a higher credit score is to obviously reduce your utilization ratio by increasing your availability. So a fantastic technique. The downside to that is many times the credit card provider is going to want to pull your credit in order for that to happen. Most of the time people are looking at getting quick jumps to credit scores. It's because they're in the process of trying to borrow money. Right?
Right.
Why else would you want it?
It's something Travis says all the time. You need to prepare yourself before you need the money.
That's right. So if you are trying to do it at the last minute and you have a lender that's looking at your credit report and all of a sudden you're going out there and incurring new inquiries, that's going to be damaging to you. So while I love that technique, it's very important that you, when you call the creditor, say, I'm in the process of getting new loans. I am not authorizing a credit inquiry. You cannot pull my credit for this. Can you approve the credit limit increase based on our payment history with you so far?
Right.
Okay. So, and that doesn't always guarantee that your credit will not be pulled, folks. Guess what creditors like to do? They like to break the rules. And you have to be very careful when you're dealing with lenders and banks and creditors.
But it's a soft pull, Matt. It's soft.
Right. So a soft pull, if it were in fact a soft pull, would not be damaging to you. However, if they pull, it's pulled with the intention of extending you new credit, which means that it is not going to be a soft inquiry. It's going to be a hard inquiry. You got to be very careful on that. So I would only ask for credit limit increases when you don't need the money. And I would do that every 3 to 6 months. I'm calling my creditors and requesting a credit limit increase. So pay before your statement closing deadline. Ask for authorized user status from friends and family. And the third and final technique that's very, very easy is to get access to business credit. Now, business credit requires a 700 FICO credit score or better in most cases. Yes, there are exceptions to that rule. Yes, there are accounts that
like if you have collateral, for example.
True, but collateral is not as much of a compensating factor when you're dealing with things like business credit cards as it is when you're dealing with other types of business credit, like lines of credit, right? Because they're taking a full-blown application, whereas a credit card application is usually very simple.
So for me, like I do HELOCs on my rental properties that don't get reported to my credit the credit bureaus
Right.
because they're business, but they're secured by property.
That's exactly right. So just a different type of lending instrument. And one thing I always try to make sure I distinguish with everybody is that you never, ever, ever, ever want to use personal credit cards to fund your business activities. If you're using personal credit, which is something that almost every young entrepreneur
Well,
and
I will
young investor
disagree
makes.
with you on that. So I want to hear you finish, and I'm going to share my opinion on it.
Okay, no problem. So the reason that I would argue that nobody should ever use personal credit cards to fund business activities is because it destroys your credit. What we're trying not to do is to destroy our credit. By maintaining great credit, I constantly have access to more and more money. When I use personal credit to fund business activities and my credit takes a dive because of it, now it becomes harder and harder and harder for me to access capital without unburying myself from that debt. So instead, what I always tell people to do is get access to business credit cards. Business credit cards can usually be easier to get. They often come with...
Which we're going to talk about in the next
Yeah,
video.
okay. Yeah, we'll go into that in the next video
Let's
as
do
well.
that in the next
Okay.
video, but let me just share my opinion on this, and then I'll let you rebut, and then
Yeah,
we'll close it out. As long as we're following your techniques and your guidelines that you just laid out for us, and we're making sure that these are paid off before they're reported, there shouldn't be any difference between using business and personal credit. Now, if you use personal credit in your business, my recommendation would be one account, one credit card potentially, and you only pay that off with business assets, with your money from your business account.
Why are you
So
using the
don't-
personal
you
account
don't
in the first
wanna-
place?
Okay,
What's
I'll
the-
let you go
what's
there,
the
but you don't want
advantage?
to commingle, right? So
Agreed. Yeah, keep them separate. One card for one project or one card for one business. You're not using it for personal
Yeah,
and for
exactly,
business,
'cause
right?
that'll-
Just for the one business activity. It keeps the bookkeeping really simple and
it
audit-
protects you from
protects you
asset
from-
protections
Yeah,
and
100%.
stuff. The reason I would do that is because my experience, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, but my experience is the rewards on personal cards tend to be a little bit better than I could get on a business card.
I think that you could find business credit card accounts that are comparable in the rewards side of
Like
things.
flight miles, you have a flight mile.
I usually go cash back, but I think it's all personal preference, right? So cash back for me is always preferred over travel rewards, although travel rewards are super popular. I'd say those are the two that are most popular versus some sort of points credit where you can cash in for, rewards like,
catalog. You
what am
buy
I
it at
thinking
a
here? Like
catalog or something.
like a gift card, right? Because you can get gift cards and so forth. So I personally like cash. And actually on our channel, we just launched a video that teaches that Chase just paid me another $2,000 in cold hard cash, man, just on rewards. And that's on a business credit card account. So I'm not saying that you're wrong when it comes to rewards being really great on personal credit card accounts. But one resource that I found very useful is creditcards.com, where you guys can easily shop this for yourself. They have a business credit card category. They have a personal credit card category. They have a rewards card category, a low to 0% interest category. I personally don't care about those low to 0% promotional periods because I'm not staying in debt, guys. If I'm paying my debt off every month, I get 0% either way, right? I'm always given a float every single month. I pay 0 interest every month, no matter what, because I'm paying in full. But, as far as the rewards are concerned, you guys can do your own shopping there. It's a really, really great resource for access to cards.
Thank you for that information. Share one more time. Your YouTube channel is amazing. Lots of great content. I think you're putting out a couple videos every single week. What is that again?
VIP Financial Ed.
And that's what you prefer our viewers to go to instead of email and no calls. Go communicate with him on his YouTube channel. You can reach us, Pine Financial Group. We hard money lenders. We want to loan your purchase, your repairs, your closing costs. We want to finance your fix and flips and your fix and holds. You can find us at pinefinancialgroup.com.